You spent countless hours in the garage with your dad. Now, investing in that old car and working on it with your son reminds you of him. And his legacy lives on. Fund your passion with a low-interest home equity line of credit from Bank of Blue Valley.
Hi, Scott.
What?
What are you doing?
Oh, that's me.
Every week you just get weirder. I love it. How are you?
I got the, when people don't know, when you do podcasts or video all the time, you need something to keep yourself occupied if you have ADD like Aaron and I. And so whether you use fidgets, sometimes I'll use the headphones for your iPods. What are you dangling with?
Right now I'm playing with our new game that we play at the end, the Kansas City Sports. You know those things you just had in your hand? My daughter talked me into telling her or writing a letter to her teacher that because she kind of has the same thing and she sees me play stuff. So she has one of those at school she plays with under her desk. I had to write her teacher a little letter to say that she could do that because it helps her concentrate. So those things are amazing. The pop.
Yeah, I think medically, I think it's called fidgets, right?
I don't know.
I mean, it's a proper terminology, but yeah, no, absolutely.
You're way more medical than me.
Well, I actually had my 4-year-old. Hilltop campus in Blue Valley came and observed him, and they're like, "Hey, we think he could do a lot better listening." And I'm like sitting there. I'm like, at the time, I'm like, he's 2.5. It's circle time's 45 minutes. What are you doing to these toddlers? Aaron and I can't even sit down for 45 minutes, but Bank of Blue Valley brings us together. And, we're supporting the colors, and we have a show once a month where we're interviewing one of the biggest names in Kansas City with Bank of Blue Valley. And Aaron, you're like, man, I exchanged one chubby white guy for another, and it went okay. And the co-host Will did a really good job. So
you did a wonderful job, but I missed you. But I was happy you were over in the comments. I'm a little mad at myself today. Can I be honest with you? Well, our goal in 2022 was to be more intentional about our shows this year.
Oh, yeah.
Because Tuesdays sneak up on us. And before you know it, it's like the first or the Giving Tuesday. Last year, I think we really decided around Giving Tuesday, and we thought we should have had all nonprofits on, right? And today I was just kicking myself in the face. That's very dramatic. But I do want to make sure that we honor it's National Black History Month. Mm-hmm. And we did not bring any Black-owned businesses on this week, but we are going to be very intentional of filling up the rest of February with as many as possible. And next year, we will make sure the Tuesdays are full of them. I'm looking through the calendar too. I'm like, there's so many great holidays on Tuesdays. We should be ahead of this. And that's going to be our goal. Okay, Scott?
Absolutely. I mean, I think like our panelists and our audience that'll be popping up in the comment section is we're all kind of juggling chainsaws. And what COVID and the pandemic has done is really shortened our work week with really intense communication Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Mm-hmm. And so, this is one of the few shows that gets together every single week. It's the longest running business show on LinkedIn. And so I'll give ourselves a little bit of leeway to get it halfway right and then get it all right in 2023, but
next year's our year.
Yeah.
We wake up every day. We do have a lot of people already on here watching. So tell us who you are, what you do, where you're watching from. Is it LinkedIn? Is it YouTube? Is it Facebook? Where are you watching from? I'm going to want to say hi to you. So Joel, hello. He says it's great to be here. It's great to have you. And here we've got Mike Meyer watching from LinkedIn. Looking forward to a great show. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Keep jumping on here because I want to highlight you. We've got a lot of great networking that happens over here. Let's get to our show. Can we just get to our show? Because although we didn't prep like I wish we would have, we still ended up with a fire panel today. I'm pretty excited about it. Are you excited? All right.
Yes, I am.
I've got this new music over here they gave me on my software. So I went through them and decided we're using this one. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Our first guest today is going to bring everybody out. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Our first guest today is Cindy. Our next guest was my buddy. We hung out a lot pre-COVID, but I haven't seen him since. But I love his new hairstyle. Kevin. And last but certainly not least, I think this gentleman and I have been connected on LinkedIn for years. I couldn't even tell you how many, right? Because I'm only 21, but me and Brian have been connected for a long time. Brian, how are you?
Good.
Look, I'm fading it out. I'm really getting good at this.
You're so tech savvy.
So tech savvy. It's all just right here. Hello. We are so excited to have y'all join us. I am so excited about this panel because I know all of them and this is super fun. So let's just jump into it. Cindy, you're going to go first. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
All right. Well, my name is Cindy Beasley, and I am the Executive Director of First Act Theater Arts. We are a Kansas City area nonprofit that I like to say we set the stage for success for kids, both on stage and off. And we do this through performance training in acting, voice, and dance. And then we give kids a chance to put those skills into action through year-round, high-quality productions, both musical and drama. And then we offer a broad range of summer camps so that kids can grow in creativity and really just have fun. This is an organization that my kids grew up in, so I have a special heart or place in my heart for this group. I am a firm believer in the power of the arts to inspire and to educate kids, not only in performance, but also in just those really essential life and work skills. You know, in the performing arts, kids have to learn how to collaborate, right? They've got to work together. They've got to trust one another when they're on that stage. They learn to have empathy. They're taking on another character, putting themselves in someone else's shoes. They've got to problem solve. They've got to think creatively. And sometimes they've got to think really quick on their feet, right? When crazy things happen on live stage. And then they have to deal with those highs and lows of success and failure. And these are all traits that we all learn in life. It's a great training ground for our future life, our character, and our workforce. And not only that, but we see over and over and over again that the performing arts training is a safe place for kids to get outside of their heads, right? To get out of that anxiety. This is a crazy world right now, and especially for our kids, when they're in performing arts, when they're in stage, when they're taking on another character, this is a place that they can actually connect with their hearts and connect with now. So I love that for our kids. In terms of how I got to Kansas City, I am actually a Kansas girl, born and bred. I was born in Salina, raised in Wichita, Kansas. Went to university in Tulsa, met and married my husband there. And we kind of did a circuitous route of living in different places for his professional training, and then actually ended up settling here. So we're halfway in between family, right? We've got family in Tulsa, family in Wichita. Our kids were raised here, and Kansas City is just a place that has our hearts. So thank you.
So that's a beautiful 2.5 hour triangle, no matter where you go, of family, and then you're in the heart of America. And speaking a little bit of an audience member, a little bit, their passion is in their blood. It's Mike Meyer. He has his gala for his fundraiser where they donate instruments to families that may have trouble affording them. And so a little bit of being in your blood. I mean, I feel like when it comes to theater, there's almost like a calling for it. And I mean, it's kind of like you just feel it and a little bit of in your blood. So for you, you got it, you gave it to your kids. How did that happen?
You know, it's funny you'd ask that, because I was thinking about this weekend. We just did Descendants, the musical, and we had a sellout crowd. And I tell you, most of the people in that crowd were kids under the age of probably 8, right? And our kids were on stage performing, and I saw these little kids up in the audience dancing and singing along with it. And I had a flashback to when I was a kid, and my aunt actually took me to a similar youth theater program. I think I was probably 4 or 5. And I remember being so enthralled and thinking how magical and amazing that was. And I think that probably planted a seed in me early on, and that I just kind of followed as I went through life. And I actually ended up minoring in theater in college. I was a business major, but I love that creative side. I love a creative outlet. And so when my kids were growing up, that was certainly a place that I kind of tried to steer them into. And funny story, my daughter was in our program, and she was on our improv team in high school, went on to K-State, joined the improv team at K-State, and met her husband, who was also on an improv team and is now married, and she teaches improv to kids. So we've come full circle. But I think there is, that's an interesting point, kind of a calling, but I think there's a place in all of our souls for beauty, right? And goodness. And I think that theater offers that and a space for that.
Mike actually jumped back in and said, the arts is a place where all kids can belong. Love what you're doing. Big fan. And all transparency, we talk about my kids in theater all the time. This is the program that they are in. And when she says it was great for kids during COVID, I think it was our saving grace during COVID, right? It was very much the way that the program pivoted to have very small gatherings when it was okay. A lot of online stuff during lockdown. But I'm really excited for you to be on the show because I try to tell as many people, but it's a program that everyone needs to know about. Kevin, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
So my name is Kevin Thompson. Nice to meet you all. Currently, I work for J. Dunn Construction Company. I'm a project engineer with them. It's been 5 years now. I am out at the zoo currently, so that's what my background is looking like right now. I'm in a trailer building an aquarium for the zoo. So I'll be out here for another year and a half, getting ready for all the sharks and the otters and the fish. So that's what I do during the day. Aaron, I actually today is the start of Black History Month. And you all had noted at the beginning, we wanted to have some small Black businesses. One thing that I do on the side is my sister and I, back 3 years ago now, started a foundation called Untitled Learning, where we build curriculum in-house for urban students, and it's career readiness curriculum starting from the ages of 5 to 13. So what my background is in engineering. I got my undergrad at Rolla, Missouri. And so coming from Rolla and then coming back to Kansas City where I was born, realizing it's not a lot of Black and brown students that are going into the STEM field, which is something that we are all aware of. So instead of focusing on high school career readiness, we wanted to bring it into our elementary and middle schools because we thought that need for, that connection for education was important in those earlier steps so they can start seeing all the different routes that they can go in, but also they can see representation, people that look like them that are in it right now currently, and give them access to those people. So what we do is we create curriculum and we tie that curriculum to professionals, and we connect with those professionals and get them in front of students. So now as professionals, you all are able to express what you do every day to students, but also the students have that content that can help really, so they can understand, what an insurance guy actually does. We just spark it up and make it more exciting for them.
So when you touch on Rolla, I always joke around that Rolla produces more millionaires of any university out of Missouri. I think it's got to be right.
I don't have it yet, Scott. I don't have it.
Yeah, I'm in sales, so you can tell we can tell the kids that the insurance guy makes up stats that kind of sound alike. 90% of the time it'll work. But you talked a lot about a transition point in your life when you're in high school of kind of figuring out, hey, I really want to figure out what I'm doing. And what was the drive that turned it on? Obviously, you always excelled in the classroom. Engineering is incredibly difficult to do and understand. So, but what was that turning point, when you're 16, 17, to really have you focused and tune in to what you are doing today?
Yeah, so it was a blend. So being young, and you can't see it right now, but I'm kind of tall. Basketball was the thing that I leaned in towards. So early on in my career, I broke my leg. I broke my leg so bad that the doctor, and I was 15 at the time, the doctor told me, well, I don't think you'll be able to run or jump off of it ever again. I'm like, God, that's depressing. That is depressing. Wow. So that kind of, it leaned me towards, which is something my mother always leaned me towards, education. I mean, it was my saving grace. And so from that, I decided to hang up the basketball dreams and just pursue college full time. My high school counselor kind of pushed me in that direction too, because she was like, I told her I wanted to look at this school down in Rolla, Missouri. I heard it was like top 3 in engineering nationwide. I want to go there. And she was like, it's 7-2 male to female. I don't know if this is the school you really want to go to. And that was enough for me. When somebody told me, you probably can't, you probably won't like it, you probably, it's not a good decision. I decided to push back and go in that direction.
Oh, now we know how to motivate you.
He was right. She was right. She was right. Yeah. So, but no, that was my turning point. And really what we're trying to do with the foundation is find that turning point for our children. And hopefully at an earlier age, we want them to find passion in education, because that's what education is. Oftentimes our kids lose that passion because they run into something that they struggle with understanding. And most of the time when we look at the education field, we teach our students one way. So if you have a group of students that don't know how to learn that way, they lose interest and then they fall to the wayside. So a big piece of our career-based curriculum is project-based. We present them real-world problems that we're facing today, like affordable housing, and then we connect them to tools to start solving that problem.
Do you remember how we met, Kevin?
Originally,
don't put people on the spot.
No,
I
what's
do.
impressive about him?
Yeah, I believe I do. Wasn't it a connection with? Was it Andre?
No. We realized we both knew him. You were sitting by yourself at the Big Brothers Big Sisters dinner.
Yes.
And I am a person that feels like anyone sitting by themselves wants someone to sit by them. I've since learned that doesn't always mean that they do.
It's today. It did that day. Yes.
And it was an open seating thing. So Kevin was sitting there, and like he said, he's very tall. So it very much you could see he was sitting by himself. And we went over and said, well, we'll sit with you. Well, poor Kevin, we'll sit with you. And then it turned out this guy, you were there because you're big brother, correct? Or you were on something.
I was. Yes.
And he was involved in all sorts of stuff. I was like, we are so lucky to get to meet you that day. And then I automatically forced him to be my friend. But I
forced him to be my friend.
kind of forced him to be our friend. But he was involved in so much stuff. We were like, wait a minute, because this was years ago. So you were still fairly new into your career. And,
yes.
and very impressive, very impressive. So
one quick note. So Aaron and I started this because the Business Journal wrote about us separately, and we thought it would be a good idea to get together. And I was with a gentleman that Aaron and I joke we have a sports show, even though we don't know much about sports, with Joel Goldberg this morning. And I was like, you know what? I bet Joel Goldberg and Andre Davis know more people than just about anyone in Kansas City. And then I'm thinking to myself, maybe they should do, but obviously Joel does everything. Andre doesn't have enough time to do anything new, but we all know him and appreciate everything he does for all of us. I'll get back to Aaron driving the show. Sorry to interrupt.
You're good. Sometimes Scott thinks we're just all at drinks anyways. I love it about him. Brian, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Hi, I'm Brian Savoy, and I feel very underwhelmed right now compared to my other panelists here. How do you follow that kind of stuff? I'm not impacting people's lives. I'm not giving our, next generation
just get the golden scoop.
Succeed. I'm just doing me. Wow. I'm humbled. Thank you guys for allowing me to be on this dais. That's awesome. I'm Brian Savoy. Currently, I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships for Photon Commerce. It's an AI-based platform that basically helps businesses streamline and automate AP, AR, receivables, reconciliation, all that kind of stuff. We've got a lot of really cool things that are coming down the pike in terms of being able to help out people like the Fed, the federal government, the clearinghouse, and some larger businesses that have traditionally been more archaic with the way that they handle the financial side of their business, getting them into the digital age. Not only that, but also helping intersect where we as consumers like to play around Venmo, PayPal, all those type of, Chime. A lot of businesses can't do that. It's not this platform is set up for person to person, and we're trying to basically help streamline that for business to business to help accelerate revenue growth or economy and things of that nature. Going to kind of what Kevin said a little bit earlier is also getting in not only a younger generation, but also a more diverse generation of people who have different accessibility and skills that maybe they didn't have before. Not really a focal point necessarily, but we're hoping that in kind of the overwhelming push to digitize a lot of this stuff, that the more youthful generation who is becoming increasingly more diverse is going to be able to take and handle these tools and do some amazing things with it as well. How did I get to Kansas City? I was born and raised. I was lucky enough to grow up here. My dad went to Olathe High School when there was no other directions around. So it was Olathe North. My uncle actually painted the Olathe North Eagle in the Olathe High School back in the day. So I was born and raised here. I was lucky enough to be surrounded and grow up in Olathe, Johnson County, and get to know some really good people. I have been lucky enough to travel both domestically and internationally extensively, both through personal stuff as well as business communications. So I really love learning, about other people, other cultures, food, habits, idiosyncrasies. It's one of the things that I'm really passionate about and really drives me. And I think that's led me to be the connector that I am today, is that I really value walking a mile in someone else's shoes, especially somebody who's very different from me. And that allows me to see things a little bit differently. But I love connecting with people. I love being able to introduce people. I look to people like Andre, like Joel, like Scott, like Davin Gordon, and so on and so forth, that, man, I just see, it's not in it for them. It's in it to, make this large world really, really small and to help people succeed. And that's really what I'm excited about.
So, Brian, one thing you do that really well, and Aaron does really well, is you kind of have a pulse of what's going on through social media, specifically LinkedIn. When did you catch the bug of LinkedIn, and how have you adopted it so well? We have a lot of listeners on the show that are in college or some of the high school programs tune in. What are, some things that, how'd you get started in it? And then obviously now you have a great online community. So, what was going on in 2008, 9, and 10 that motivated you to get on the platform?
That's a really good question. Actually, I started getting off of social media about the time that I got on LinkedIn. I was seeing a lot of just the polarization that happens a lot. And I think a lot of people have tried to dissipate it, but I still think it's inherently there, whether it's politics or religion or, all the different things that are going on in today's society. It can be used for a lot of good, but I find that a lot of it is a lot of noise. I don't think anybody's ever got on and been like polar opposites and be like, man, that was such a well-crafted Facebook comment. I'm now changing my viewpoints on whatever this topic is. Like that's never happened in the history of the world. And a lot of times it's even hard in person at a bar or something like that. If you're talking to a Republican or a Democrat or somebody from different religions or different socioeconomic classes, a lot of times they just can't get on the same page. And so I distanced myself from the Facebooks, from the Instagrams and stuff like that. I found solace in LinkedIn. I found that there wasn't a lot of the extra noise. It really was at that time a platform for, entrepreneurial spirits, people looking to get into different markets, people looking to grow their personal and professional brands. And I don't think I cracked any codes or algorithms or anything. I just started following people that I wanted to emulate. I started with people like a Simon Sinek or, a Steve Jobs, and who did they follow? What were they commenting on? What kind of articles were they reading and reposting? Oh, and then that would lead me here and that would lead me here. And so really I started very macro, kind of the big wigs that we all know, the Gary V's and whatnot. But then I started to drill down and realize that we have a lot of really cool talent here in Kansas City. We have a very diverse group of people. A lot of people, when they hear Kansas, they automatically think Wizard of Oz and Dorothy, or they think Missouri and they think the Ozarks and kind of the foothills, that kind of stuff. Kansas City's really diverse, and we have this giant melting pot of different backgrounds and different types of people. I call it a big town. It's not a city like LA or Chicago or Dallas or New York, but we have a lot of the diversity here with those Midwestern values and ethics where we really respect each other, and we got a lot of hard workers and really entrepreneurial spirits. And so that really helped me focus, kind of laser in on who's moving and shaking in Kansas City. I want to get to know them. I want to be one of them. I want to be in the room where it happens. We were talking a little bit about theater earlier and how people, don't know where to go to get in. And that's what I saw on LinkedIn and why I really kind of adopted the platform.
Yeah, you've done it at a really, really amazing level. And you start doing it right around when I was doing it. I was unemployed at my parents' house, not graduating from college yet, with a 5-year degree that only took 3 years in communications. But I was like, I got to be productive today. I don't have class till 11, so I just popped on LinkedIn. But you've always done the same thing. And then over time, you end up knowing a ton of people because it's like, you friend everyone that you know.
Yeah.
And then over
We
time,
got people over here. Patrick says, amen, Brian. Deleting Facebook remains one of the best decisions I've made. No time for spinning wheels in a hamster cage. And Matt says, Brian is the man. Looking great, buddy. So you got all sorts of your
Thanks,
links.
guys. I appreciate the fan club.
Well, amazing. Yes, I was going to say they are in great company too with you, Brian. I think everybody would agree. All right. Well, let's talk about this. Gosh, you guys, it's February. How is it already February? Doesn't it feel like it was just the holidays? It's already February. So I think we've got about one more month on this question, Scott. But Cindy, what are you looking forward to the most in accomplishing in 2022?
Wow. This 2022 is a big year, right? We are, please God, recovering from COVID, right? From a couple years of some major shutdowns. COVID is hard on everybody. And I tell you, try being a, performing arts company and walking through COVID. So I am loving that we are able to do live shows again, that we are rebuilding, that we are growing our program. And that's what I'm looking forward to most, is just celebrating kids again and celebrating being able to be with those kids and loving and accepting and pushing them forward in life. So
do you want to talk about a couple programs you have coming up that people could come to?
Yes, of course. Yes, we have a couple shows. Oliver will be here in a couple weeks. I think it's you probably know better than I do, Aaron, 17th.
Super Bowl weekend. So that's
Yes.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Exactly. Yes. We will be having Oliver. This will be at the Mid-America Bell Center, Mid-America Nazarene University Bell Center. Great show. Kids are up and ready to do that. And then we have Seussical, which Aaron's daughter is in. And
she's a baby kangaroo. It's her first lead.
Yes, it's going to be so exciting. We have 70 kids in that show. So there's a lot of energy, a lot of fun with that. And that will be the weekend following. So yes, please join us. It'd be great. And then this spring, we'll be doing Les Mis, which is always a popular show and one that really brings out the best in our kids, as well as James and the Giant Peach and Wizard of Oz. So we're excited about this season. And again, excited about being able to do live theater again. So.
And they're good productions. When we first went, I was like, oh, it's going to be like a kid. No, they're like full out. I was seeing a lot of Broadway, and they're right almost there, right? Like they are Kansas City Broadway. It is really good.
Yeah, it's a comment that I hear over and over and over again from folks is, it's truly a great entry point for people getting into our program, is they are so blown away with the quality of our shows, with the talent, with our staging, the quality of our artistic teams. I mean, we really are, as I said, we want to set the stage for success for our kids, and we want to give them the best so that they're able to do their best. So yes, join us.
You have stars, people that are very talented and naturally they gravitate towards the lead roles, but also there's so many people that you forever change their life trajectory by pulling them in and getting them involved into a community that supports them. So can you talk a little bit about, how people, if they're on the fence, ways that they typically get involved, or what age they get involved, or how they go about doing it? Because, I think of, maybe someone that's introverted, or someone that may have something that they feel is holding them back, but you can really bring it out with them with the community that you bring together.
Absolutely. And, ironically, I have never seen a statistic on this. This is probably more anecdotal, but it sure seems that there are actually more introverts that actually are on stage and in acting, because this is the place where they feel safe, where they can express themselves. So one of the great entry points to our program is through our summer camps. That is a great way for a kid to come in for a week. We even have camps that aren't acting or music focused. They're tech camps, right? They can learn tech skills or stunts and things like that. So we have camps for every different type of interests that somebody might have, starting at the age of 7 on up. So camps are a great way. As I said, we have 3 studios at acting, vocal, and dance studio. So if a kid wants to come and maybe just try out some acting chops in a small setting, getting some one-on-one attention, that's another great way. And again, just coming to our show and coming to one of our shows and being inspired. Our kids, our community, Aaron can attest to this, is a really warm, loving, accepting community. We're all about making sure kids feel a part, making sure they feel included. Aaron mentioned early on, we have what's called a HEART program. This is a diversity inclusion program for kids with disabilities. We've had this for almost 20 years now. We've got a gal who is dedicated to making sure that those kids feel included. And the great thing about inclusion on that side is not only do the kids with disabilities come in and feel included, but it also helps our kids who don't have disabilities learn about inclusion too, right? It's this working together. And so that is very much a part of our culture and community. And so if those kids will come in the door and give us a shot, I guarantee you they're going to feel accepted and keep moving forward with this. It's a great program.
Apologize. I was typing. Well, we can't see. I was typing on my phone. It's 25 to 40%. Just on a quick Google of the country is introverted. I feel like that number is way higher though. I always see most people are introverts. So
those are the introverts that were introverted enough to fill out the survey.
I was just going to say that.
Extroverted enough to fill out your survey. I will tell you, to Sydney's point about just growing the community, one of the things that gets me every time is after each one of these shows, the kids vote on awards. And, we kind of all see the same thing on TV where the prom king and queen are always the popular jocks, right? These awards, every time these kids get it, they nail it. It's always the kid that was the sweetest, the nicest, the kindest. And look, I'm almost tearing up. I cry at every single time at those awards assemblies, you guys, because these kids get it by the end of it. This is really fun. Toby says his kids are excited to do the camps this summer and get involved with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And Catherine says, you have been tackling COVID and theater beautifully. Thank you for keeping the arts alive during this time. So yes, not an easy task in your seat. All right, Kevin, what are you looking forward to in 2022?
In 2022, and not counting the first month, I would say so. One thing I'm looking forward to is closing up this aquarium and not having to worry about all this snow that's coming in this week. So I'm sitting over here stressing about that. So that's one. But the second piece would be, so we're wrapping up. Curriculum takes a lot of research time. And we've been researching and testing our product for the last 2.5 years of our conception as a foundation. So right now we're in that process of applying applications. So we're going to be in the Ruskin School District in the elementary school, second graders, but we're also going to be in the Atlanta School District. So I got one long distance client, and I got one client that's right in our backyard. And then we're partnering with some foundations around Kansas City to get content in there too. So I'm looking forward to seeing the 2 years of curriculum building, the connections with professionals. I'm looking forward to the application side of it. I'm looking forward to our professionals being excited about or hopefully enthused about the aspect of what it's that feeling when you are in front of a student and they figure out something for the first time or they connect the dot for the first time. That's always an exciting thing. But I'm also looking forward to our students' horizon just growing, seeing the different possibilities. So it's going to be a busy year, but it's gonna be a good year.
And one of the things that I thought was most impressive about your foundation was when you guys first started, because it was just kind of right before COVID, right?
Yeah. Right when COVID started, actually. Timing was impeccable, honestly. Impeccable.
Because we met about it, and then I think it went on lockdown. You guys actually hand wrote notes to anybody that did any sort of donation to help get you guys started. And they were long and personal notes. And I thought it was very impressive.
Yeah. for one, my business partner is my older sister, so y'all can only imagine how those business meetings goes. She was the sister that tortured me when I was a child, so not the other sister. So when we started it, her background is in education. She's a second grade teacher, and we started with just a whim. She was tutoring students. She was tutoring about 8 of her students, and we wanted to just do a summer program. That summer, we based it out of our church that we grew up in, and we ran off of, not a lot of money. So it was big, like an errand to make a donation to what we were trying to accomplish. Now, granted, we've been able to pull some major corporations. Shout out to the Hallmark Foundation and J. Dunn Foundation. But at that time, it was just Aaron. Aaron was the only one that believed in us. So no, you weren't the only one, Aaron. But it was important for us to show that appreciation that we had, especially early.
Well, I think it was people believing in you, Kevin. I've never met your sister, but I think you went out there and put yourself out there. So I think it was believing in you. And I think that's a really good lesson for everybody here, is that really it's the relationships you grow, that no matter which way you go, if you grow those relationships correctly, people will support you and believe in you if they're true relationships. So I think that's really a really good point. So I'm excited to hear you talk so much more.
I appreciate you saying that too, Aaron. You believe in me.
I do. How tall are you?
6'5", 6'6".
It's funny when we stand next to each other because I'm a midget. He's very tall. Besties.
Kevin, one quick thing to note upon is J. Dunn does a lot of great work in the community, and I know they'll be the first ones to say they're not even touching the tip of the iceberg on what they need to be doing. Can you give us a glimpse of other cities? Because J. Dunn's one of the largest construction firms in North America, and they work in a lot of different cities. Do other cities, are we ahead of the curve? Are we behind the curve? Do you have a city that you admire that really does great work within the community, that represents the community overall? Kind of give the audience a little education in terms of what you've seen in your career in other cities.
Yeah. I would say, one, Kansas City is known as a philanthropy city. And that's a big thing. When I came into the nonprofit space, I was at awe about not only everything I needed to learn about, but the impact that the nonprofit space in Kansas City was making on the community. And then on top of that, like you said, Scott, J. Dunn, and quietly, oftentimes, put such an impact back, or put so many more resources back into the city. So in Kansas City, we have a big footprint. This is where our headquarters we're located. So we do a lot here, but we also, in other communities, we also are pushing to continue to do more. That partnership that I was talking about in Atlanta is through a partnership with J. Dunn and Burns McDonald. So those are two firms from Kansas City that are going outside of Kansas City and continuing to make those impacts. I know that for Black History Month, for example, one thing that we wanted to do, J. Dunn internally, was to make a financial donation to Black foundations all across the country. And that was something that J. Dunn matched us with. So, and that's just one out of the several things that continue to happen. So I know Mr. Dunn has always put that on the forefront of his business plan, is to give back to the community. And we've been continuing to do that forever since I started.
Well, Brian, how about you? Do you know your 2022 goals?
To get with Kevin. That's what I'm dang, man. Like, that's awesome. I do want to circle back to something that Cindy said earlier about kind of the introvert extrovert. It's funny that you bring that up around the arts in general. I am actually the oldest of 7 kids, and I'm the only one in my family who can't sing, who can't dance. I was relinquished to behind the scenes. I had 4 sisters that danced for Kansas City Ballet. They were at, Theater in the Park. They had lead parts. They had lead roles. I was laying microphone cords and running soundboards and light boards.
Doesn't everyone speak another language other than you?
What?
Doesn't everyone speak another language other than you?
most of them. So my mom's Hispanic, my mom's Mexican, and so we grew up around Spanish. But we had fun. It was we learned our Latin and our Greek roots, and it would be like who can out best the other one with some type of weird knowledge or situation. And we all had different likes and dislikes. So you might know sports really well, and my sister might know movies and music, and so it just kind of we always had somebody to bounce ideas off of, and it got really creative. It was a lot of fun. It was like the Von Trapp family from Sound of Music. Only I couldn't sing, and I still can't, so I don't even try. But to that point, I would consider myself very much an extrovert. I'm very out there. I'm very with the people, but I was relinquished to behind the scenes, and that diversity and inclusion piece, like it is truly a place where anybody can come and be welcome because everybody's talents uniquely are celebrated. And it's really, really cool that you're continuing that legacy and that really rich tradition. And Kansas City does between, Arts KC, the Kauffman Center, the Kansas City Ballet. I mean, there's just go on and on and on about the tremendous art focus that we have here in Kansas City. It's amazing. So just kudos on that. As far as what I'm excited for in 2022, I'm excited to leverage some of the contacts and networks that I've created and been a part of over the last 2 or 3 years specifically. To Scott's point earlier, I really have been a lot more active on LinkedIn since COVID. Without the in-person meetings, I'm very much let's grab coffee, let's do lunch, let's hang out for a quick happy hour. And obviously when COVID happened, that all went away. And so there was a lot more virtual meetings, and I really got to know, almost like you would a pen pal, the substance of someone versus just being in close proximity of that person. You learn a lot more about technology. You learn a lot more about the arts. You learn a lot more about nonprofits. You have to create substance around these virtual interactions. And as we hopefully are cresting this hump and getting back into some normalcy, I love to get involved with some of the contacts and the people that I've met over the years, and some people that I haven't even met that I've just done virtual conversations with and emails through. But really connecting. That's really what I love to be, as a connector, a creative problem solver. And I might not always be selling a product that you need, or I might not be in a vertical that is speaking to you, but let me get you in touch with an Aaron, with a Cindy, with a Scott, with a Kevin. And I bet you they can help you in this particular instance or situation. So what I'm looking forward to in 2022 is really kind of leveraging my personality, my network, and connecting people. I am doing a couple of different speaking engagements. UMKC, St. Thomas Aquinas High School has invited me to come and talk to a panel out there. I love the college, high school level kids. I felt that I really wish I had half the knowledge and information. Somebody would have just come to me and said, "Hey man, like you've got this, you should try this or get into this or connect with this person." I love being that person for those kind of emerging youth and getting them into the Kansas City scene, whether that's through things like Top Gun or Band of Angels or Centurions. Like those are all great programs, but sometimes it's just having conversations with people and really connecting the different likes and niches that people get into with other people that can help them succeed.
I was going to say one of your 2022 goals is really should be, if I were you with that personality, you're really good on video. You should be doing videos and more speaking, maybe even get your own podcast. Like I would listen. So if you want to put that on your goal list, I think you should.
I'll defer to you and come to you. It's really funny because I love talking with people. I hate being on camera. I hate creating my own content. I'll have conversations for hours and hours and hours, but if it's up to me to create, I might get nervous and is it hot in here? Like, yeah, it's so weird, the different dichotomies of extrovertedness.
Right. Well, you're fabulous. All right. We got one more question, 15 minutes left. So let's talk about, I think we've all said it at some point. We're almost over COVID. But this last 2 years has been a lot. We are literally coming up on 2-year mark of this, right? So let's talk about a win that you've had the past couple of years. Cindy, let's start with you. What is a big win you've had the past couple of years?
Personally or professionally or both? Or
whatever you want to share.
So, okay, couple thoughts. One is during COVID, when we were completely shut down, I am a middle-aged woman and I got my master's degree. So that was great
Whoa.
fun and a great accomplishment. So COVID was very good to me, and that provided the perfect opportunity and space to do that. And the great thing about that is my mission and vision has always been to use my skills to help people in nonprofits. So I have a master's in public administration with nonprofit management. So that opened the door to the job that I have now, which is remarkable. And I will tell you, the thing that COVID did for nonprofits, with as difficult as it's been, it was a real gift in that it exposed our weaknesses, right? I don't care if you're in performing arts, it doesn't matter. If you were resting on your laurels and just kind of floating along, COVID came along and pointed out where your weak spots were. And that is a true gift. And so I think even coming into First Act, there was another nonprofit I worked with in Tulsa. It shines the light on where we need to improve, and we have the opportunity to do that. So to me, that's a win. That's a win for nonprofits and a win for me to have had that time to get my master's and to come now and apply that to the work I'm doing here. So
amazing. I didn't know that. That's really impressive.
Well, what'd you get your master's in?
It's a master's in public administration. So I had my business degree and I loved that. But I found that although producing widgets was nice, I actually love being with people more. So
Just a random question, and Aaron, feel free to put me back on track. Would you ever go into being like a principal of a school, or would you ever want to do that?
Sure. Yeah.
No, she's not allowed to leave First Act ever.
Yeah, I'm just
my kids are
my company, we received over 20 resumes for a really cool position. It was like an operations position.
Mm-hmm.
And we stopped everything to interview a teacher that I came across that was an administrator, and hired the person. And the person said, "Hey, I know I was making $85,000 and the position only pays $70,000. I want to let you know that I'll thank you for the offer. I'll take $70,000. We turned around and go, "We're going to pay you $95,000.
Wow.
And we want you to do that for someone else." But my point is I think the teaching community, and Erin, her partner, is in the healthcare industry, but it's such an interesting dynamic of people coming in and out of that, but how talented that workforce is, but they give themselves to others to help grow people that are ill or children. So sorry.
No.
Erin.
All about people.
No, you're fine. I think teachers in healthcare, if any of them survive outside of this pandemic, still in those industries, then they can have any job they want.
Absolutely.
If they can do that, I'm in marketing. It looks so simple.
Certified superheroes.
Exactly. Kevin, what is your biggest win this past 2 years, I guess?
I would say my biggest win would be I've been doing a lot of just hands-on things to relax. I've been trying to find stress relievers. So a lot of things around the house. I actually did my first flip during COVID because we all had time. Cindy got her master's, so I had to do something. But I would say that was my biggest win, and just finding new things to find peace, because I think it was a lot. We've been stressed a lot. It made us all change our lifestyles in a way, which isn't a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think discipline is important, and this taught us a whole new discipline. To Cindy's point too, I think that in the nonprofit space, we all had to start asking ourselves or readjusting to who we were servicing. We saw that a lot of our kids, when they were staying at home, some development was being missed from missing school, and so a lot of pressure was being put on schools to fulfill a lot of needs for families. And a lot of nonprofits came, and started supporting and helping those schools fulfill those needs. So I think that we all learned something new from COVID, and we'll continue to learn something new because COVID's not going to go away. And I think that it's good for us. It's good for us to look at the virtual option. It's good for us to be able to balance these things where we won't always be able to meet in person. Zoom is not always good for us, but it is good for us in doses.
Well, I mean, I do think Zoom saves us a lot of time sometimes.
Zoom advocate.
I'm a big Zoom advocate, as I sat here in my house. So you flipped your first house.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, that's not a small endeavor.
Well, I
Can
made construction.
Can you drywall?
No.
I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos. It looks hard.
Yeah, no. My hands are not that good. My eyes are even worse. I did more of demo. I did a lot of demo. I did some rough electrical. Don't tell the city of Kansas City. I
Totally safe here.
I did things because I just wanted to try. I wanted to try some things. Most things that I tried, I ended up having to pay for somebody to come behind me and clean it up. So now I have a better feel of what I will do and what I won't do. And drywall is not one of those that I will do ever again.
I keep coming up with house projects, and that's one I put on the list that Janae's already crossed off. So
yeah, hire someone. Hire someone.
I came up with a house project this weekend that required a handsaw on a banister, and she now had to get stitches. She stitched it herself. But essentially, I'm not quite sure I'm getting any of these projects done now.
Did you help her with it, Aaron?
I mean, I tried. I'm not the handiest.
It's not a bad idea. You just start a project and then Janae finishes it.
Yeah, because I'm okay with it sitting unfinished forever. She's not. You're on to me.
She was emotional support.
She was all the support. What are you looking for? What has been your biggest win in 2021?
My biggest win has been around. It's funny we keep hitting on it, but the nonprofits. I have been in sales since I think I could speak. My grandma tells a story that when I was 5 years old, I talked my way out of a spanking. She's like, "You're going to be a lawyer someday," because my mom ended up buying me a Happy Meal after I broke like a priceless, teapot or something or another. But I traditionally been focused about efficiency gains, profitability, growth. Like I've always had kind of a business mindset. And I've really kind of focused on whatever company I've been with or the people that I've been around is how do I increase efficiencies? How do I increase productivity? Those types of things. And in the past, since COVID hit, I really have been opened up tremendously to the nonprofit sector. I was able to be lucky enough to be granted an advisory position with the Golden Scoop, which is a big D&I ice cream shop in Overland Park. I've worked with Scraps KC, helping to educate people about the homeless and recycling and reusing things. I was lucky enough to meet Max over at Camby's and just getting fresh produce into the urban core and stuff like that. I mean, there's I could go on for hours about the things that I've been privy to, but it's been so fulfilling to just see how much good is being done by people who aren't just focused on profits, but are actually turning profits, are actually doing good in the community, and other people are seeing that. And I'm anxious to be a part of that. And in the past 2 years, I think that's probably been my biggest win, is to see that shift and pivot, that it's not just about profitability, but if you focus on the people, if you focus on society, the issues, and I think these are universal issues. Everybody gets kind of into the weeds about, the particular political affiliations or what they think is important, but like helping people, I mean, that's every religion, every background, everything is just, how do you help your fellow person? And to see all the different ways that we can creatively think of ways to help those around us and lift others up has been really eye-opening. And that's been a very fulfilling part of the last 2 years of my life that I hope to continue that tradition and to help kind of bridge that gap between. Kevin had brought up like J.E. Dunn, the Halls family, the Kempers. These are people that have, made, millions of dollars and really helped the infrastructure and build up Kansas City, are giving back to these, different nonprofits and different things that you can to help lift up others beyond just construction or just beyond wages or whatnot. So I've been really excited and happy to be a part of the nonprofit community and to learn more about it. So that's my big win for the last 2 years.
Tell everyone about the Golden Scoop real quick before Aaron wraps us up.
Real quick, Golden Scoop, 95th and all. Make sure you check them out. They've been featured on almost everything, but they're a coffee and ice cream shop that only employs people with developmental or physical disabilities. So really speaking on the D&I side, traditionally people think LGBTQ, women, people of color, and statistically the people that are either disabled and mentally or physically are traditionally overlooked. They can't pass things like simple background, screenings or phone, interviews or stuff like that. They're not given the skills or opportunity because of that level playing field that kind of everybody else is abiding by. So they're really working on workforce development, working out with people in the community to help uplift that segment of society and get them placement. So.
Okay, real quick, I have two last questions. And this is mostly because of you, Cindy. Cindy, I couldn't find you on LinkedIn. What is the best way to get a hold of you?
I am on LinkedIn, so I'm kind of surprised you couldn't.
I'll go back and try to tag you. We've tagged everybody else.
Yeah, that's odd.
All right.
I don't know if it's under Cynthia Beasley. You might check that. I don't remember.
I will find her and I will tag her here.
Perfect. Okay,
and then
great.
First Acts KC as
yes,
well.
executive director at firstactkc.org. Yep. Our
Okay.
website is firstactkc.org, and you can find any way to reach me through that. So
And Kevin and Brian, you guys check your LinkedIn on the regular, right? Okay, because you guys are actually tagged on here. Okay, here's the deal. My 2022 goal was not to let Scott ask any more of his silly icebreaker questions on this show. So the only way I could do that is by adding this new Kansas City history sports question at the end. So audience members, get ready to answer Scott. You cannot be the first to answer. You always have to be the last. Don't forget, okay? Last week, he was so excited he knew the answer. And then all the guests were like, what are we supposed to do now? So,
Christian Okoye.
yes.
Nigerian Nightmare.
But after a really tough Sunday in the city, I thought this would be a good question to remind us of the good old days. It's not really that old. Okay. And we'll go Cindy, Kevin, Brian, and then Scott. You can guess. Audience, make sure you get your guesses in here too. What Hall of Fame Chiefs guard out of Nebraska did not miss one game during his career that spanned from 93 to 2006? Cindy, do you have a guess?
not at all. No idea.
I wouldn't either. Kevin, do you know? Do you have a guess?
Willie Roof.
What was your guess?
Is it Roof?
I'm not going to tell you till everyone guesses. Willie Roof was your guess. How about
Brian,
you, Brian?
don't pretend you don't know this answer.
I have no idea. So I know a very limited sports, music, movies, all day long. Sports. I'm just gonna say Will Shields.
Because you saw it over there. How about you, Scott?
Yeah, no. Speaking of it, a great entrepreneur, Will Shields has a gym where he does a variety of investments in Kansas City, and I can't believe we haven't had on the show. But yeah, I mean,
tag him. Everybody tag him like on TikTok when they tag the celebrities. Tag Will Shields. He did not miss one. I'm not even a sports person, but
did I get it right?
You
Wasn't
did.
he a tackle?
Oh wow!
Wasn't he a tackle? He wasn't a guard. Wasn't he a tackle?
Listen, this game.
good point, Kevin. I mean, he could have moved.
That's not fair. No, that's not fair. No.
Chiefs guard out of, I think that's what you heard. Chiefs guard out of Nebraska. During his career that spanned from 93 to 2006. That's a long time not to take a day off.
Kevin, that's impressive that you calculated that. You're a step ahead of everyone.
Aaron paused when she was asking the question and he threw the whole
So
thing.
Aaron, in college, he played one position, but in the pros, he played another. So the question is right, but Kevin is right, but we're all right.
But everybody can be, but Toby is the rightest. All right. Mike wanted to end and say, bringing philanthropy into our business has completely changed company culture. Employees see on a daily basis the impact they make on the community. Thanks for the Band of Angels shout out on today's show. Thank you to all of our panelists. We absolutely adore and thank you for being on here. Cindy, Kevin, Brian, Scott and I are so grateful. Thank you to our sponsor, Bank of Blue Valley. We will be back next week, same time, same place. We hope to see you then. Until then, go connect with everybody. Start following. They're doing some pretty awesome things. Thanks, guys. Bye.